Rachel, you start.
Favorite childhood memory. I never picked out a perfectly favorite. How about if I start by saying the one I think was probably one of the first was when the next door neighbor handed me a lollipop over the fence. But maybe this one was even earlier, I'm not quite sure, when I flew down the stairs. I don't know if anybody really believes that I flew down the stairs,
I do.
but that was my memory, that I was at the top of the stairs and I flew down
Well,
instead of falling down
I used
or
to.
walking down.
I used to fly down the stairs on my tummy, with my hands flopping on the stairs, going down feet first.
I did that later when we were playing on the stairs when I was older, but this one was from before that.
My first childhood memory that I clearly recall was my trip down from Canada when I was 2 years old. That's when we moved, when my family moved from Toronto to Bernathen. And I remember I came down in a choo-choo train, and I remember the what do you call them? Beds.
The upper bunk.
The bunk beds.
Yeah.
I was in an upper bunk, and I remember in the night the train whistle going, ooh, ooh, and this was my first train ride, I presume, and I know that we got off that train the next morning at Wayne Junction, which is in Philadelphia, and transferred to another choo-choo train that went to Bernathen. That's the way I guess it went to Bernathen. It could have gone to Beth Ayres, but because there was two railroads.
Sure there was a stop in Bernathen back then. That's what I hear.
Yeah, there was a stop in Bernathen, but you could, Beth Ayres and Bernathen were, Bernathen would have been closer to where we moved, so that might have been it. Probably was. So I remember one hand in my mother's hand and the other hand in my father's hand, swinging me across the tracks, which would have happened at Wayne Junction, which is where you do connect those two railroads, the Reading Railroad from Canada with the Reading Railroad to Bernathen, swinging me across the tracks to go to the other track. I remember that clearly. Now, 2 years old is when one tends to recall things for the first time. When you're younger than 2, some people 1.5 maybe, but 2 years old is often the age at which you can recall your experiences. And that was fun to be able to recall it and know the date.
Right.
Because it was when we moved.
Right. That was your earliest childhood memory, but I don't know if that was your favorite childhood memories.
Well, I guess my favorite would be one that it is not quite a memory, because I think that it was fabricated from what people told me. But in Canada, I was I learned to drive.
You did.
It was on a hill, and I released the emergency brake. You push the button, and then you can release the brake on the emergency brake. Mm-hmm. And somebody ran after me rolling down the road, and managed to jump in and save me from a collision.
That's good. I'm glad they...
Rachel,
She
your
answered.
favorite.
She-
Did you answer your favorite? Oh yeah.
I guess maybe my favorite was when I was 4, and we had moved. Well, I might as well start. I was born in Kitchener, and the next real home we had was in Bernathen, but we lived in Toronto for about a few months while my father was looking for another for a job at places in Toronto, because it was a big city. And
No
oh
problem.
oh
If you just,
sorry.
it's fine. If you bump it, it'll make noise. That's fine. So, in Toronto. Sorry.
Anyway, while we were there, we were living in a house where the 2 brothers I had at that point and I were in one little bedroom, and we all had measles. And for Christmas, we got a little wind-up train that went around in a circle from one bed to the next bed to the next bed. So we all 3 enjoyed running that little train round and round and round.
That's really cool. We ask you your favorite childhood memory, and she says, "I had measles."
Well, another good part of that measles memory was the Christmas dinner at Uncle Percy and Aunt Vera's house, which might have been, I don't know if it was before or after. It must have been before the train, because we got the train for Christmas. That's right. But I remember the trip to Toronto, too. Somebody drove us there in a car. I suppose it was probably Uncle Percy, but I don't know for sure. But I remember someone pointing out to us. I guess I was looking out the window and asked about all those lights. And they say, "Oh, that's the Toronto Exposition," which was a big exposition.
Not a World's Fair. Is it?
It's sort of like a World's Fair.
Uh-huh.
But it was sort of a constant thing.
Okay.
It was an all the time kind of exposition. And there were just many, many lights, and I'd never seen big city lights like that before.